זה לא שינה, ומיד כשחזרתי הייתה לך הרגשה שאני עוד אוהב אותך, שאני כבר שלך, ואהבתי ושמחת וחשבת שרציתי להיות שם תמיד בשבילך, כי ידעתי שככה זה טוב, שלשניים יהיה יותר פשוט לאהוב, כל הדרך אני לצידך. גם אני עוד שומע וגם אני לא יודע איך עושים את זה, איך שזה לא קל לאהוב ללא תנאי. והופתענו כשבא השינוי הגדול, והבטחנו תמיד לדבר, וראינו אחרי שבועות וימים שלא קל לעמוד מול הרגל. גם אני עוד שומע וגם אני לא יודע איך עושים את זה, איך שזה לא קל לאהוב ללא תנאי. שזה לא קל לאהוב.
Hello everyone, good morning. We'll get started with our Shacharit Shel Shabbat. We're on page 186. רבה אמונתך, רבה sovereign, that you have restored my soul to me in mercy. How great is to have your trust, to being who I am, to becoming the best version of myself. Once again, Boker Tov everyone. It's very nice to see you in this morning of Shabbos, as your windows start to pop up here in Zoom, and we know that as we start this morning, others will join also on Facebook and YouTube, so we want to greet all of you. Amy's there. So nice to see you. Shabbat Shalom. We will now turn our Sidurim to page 192 as we enter this sanctuary that we create together. Matovu. Yaakov, Mishkenotecha, Israel. Lecha Yaakov, Mishkenotecha, Israel. Bani ברוב חסדך וביתך, אשתחווה לך על קודשך בהירתך. אדוני אהבתי מאום ביתך ומקום משכן כבודך, ואני אשתחווה בכרה אברך לפני אדוני עושי, ואני תפילתי לך אדוני את רצון אלוהים ברוב חסדך, ענני באמת אישך. We turn our Sidurim to page 194 for the blessing for the well functioning of our bodies. You can follow the words for the blessing in our Sidur, or alternatively you can just close your eyes for a moment and give some recognition to your body, to the tabernacle of our existence. During these Torah portions, we learn about the building of the ark and the care, the good care that we need to take of the ark and the beauty of the ark, because it will carry the essence of our people. And so we do with our bodies. Our bodies are the containers of our existence, and we deeply care about the container. We deeply care about the well-being of our bodies. I invite you to take a moment and become aware of your breath. To take a deep, long breath. As we say, Baruch Ata Adonai, Rofeh Kol Basar Umafli La'asot, blessed are you, Adonai, who heals all flesh, working wondrously. We turn our Sidurim to page 196 for the blessing for our souls.
נשמה שנתת בי טהורה היא, אלוהי, נשמה נשמה בקרבי, מודה אני לפניך. כל זמן שנשמה בקרבי, מודה אני לפניך. אדוני אלוהי ואלוהי אבותיי, אדוני אלוהי ואלוהי אמותיי, ריבון כל המעשים, אדון כל הנשמות, ריבון כל המעשים, אדון כל הנשמות, אלוהי, נשמה שנתת בי, טהורה היא, אלוהי, נשמה שנתת בי, טהורה היא.
Source of all creation, sovereign of all souls, praise are you, Adonai, in whose hand is every living soul and the breath of humankind. Baruch atah Adonai, asher biyado nefesh kol chai, baruch kol basar ish. We turn our study to page 198 for the blessings, for the daily miracles, Birkot HaShachar. You can either follow the words of the Siddur, of our tradition, or try to think about what are your daily blessings, the things that without them your routine just doesn't function. And you can also use the words of our tradition to think about where you are in your life. When we say, for example, להבחין בין יום ובין לילה, להבחין between, to distinguish between day and night, to think about your ability to distinguish, to recognize between different sources of energy in your life. When we say פוקח עיוורים, who opens the eyes of the blind, to think about what are the new things that you learned, what are the things that you need to open your eyes to. Matir Asurim, who frees the captive, what's holding you back. Sokef Kefufim, where you need to lift up yourself, and also maybe to stretch your back a little bit. So we are on page 198.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who has given the mind the ability to distinguish day from night.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who opens the eyes of the blind.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who frees the captive.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who lift up the fallen.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who stretches the earth over the water.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who strengthens our steps.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who clothes the naked.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who gives strength to the weary.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who removes sleep from our eyes, slumber from our eyes.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who has made me in God's image, who has created all human beings equal.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani bat chorim.
Who created free will. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who has made me a Jew.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, ozer Israel migvura.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who crowns Israel with splendor.
Please join me on page 204 for the blessing for the study of Torah. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. O Adonai our God, let the words of Torah be sweet in our mouths and the mouths of your people Israel, so that we, our descendants, and the descendants of all your people Israel may know you, by studying your Torah for its own sake. Blessed are you, Adonai, who teaches Torah to your people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, hamilamed Torah, le'amo Yisrael. We continue on page 206. These are things that are limitless, of which a person enjoys the fruit of the world, while the principle remains in the world to come. They are honoring one's father and mother, engaging in deeds of compassion, arriving early for study, morning and evening, dealing graciously with guests, visiting the sick, providing for the wedding couple, accompanying the dead for burial, being devoted in prayer, and making peace among people. But the study of Torah encompasses them all. And we continue on page 212, beginning our Tzukei de Zimra with Baruch She'amar. Baruch She'amar v'chaya ha'olam, Baruch Hu, Baruch Shemo, Baruch Oseh v'Reshit, Baruch Omer v'Oseh, Baruch Gozer u'Mekayem, Baruch Merachem al ha'aretz, Baruch Merachem al ha'briot, Baruch Meshalem Zachar Tov Direyav, Baruch Chai La'ad v'Kayam Lanetzach, Baruch Bodeh u'Matzil, Baruch Hu, Baruch Shemo.
With songs of praise we extol you and proclaim your sovereignty. For you are the source of life in the universe. One God, life of the universe, praise and glorious ruler, your name is eternal. Melech me'ulal, batishvachot, Baruch atah Adonai, Melech me'ulal, batishvachot. Page 214, Psalm 92, Mizmor Shir LeYom HaShabbat, as we begin the Psukei de Simbra.
Mizmor Shir LeYom HaShabbat, Mizmor Shir LeYom HaShabbat, Mizmor Shir LeYom HaShabbat, Haylay, 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 haylay. Mizmor Shir LeYom HaShabbat, Mizmor Shir LeYom HaShabbat, Mizmor Shir LeYom HaShabbat, Haylay, 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 haylay. Tov lehodod l'Adonai, ולזמר לשמך עליון, להגיד בבוקר חסדיך, ואמונתך בלילות. עלי ורעננים יהיו, להגיד כי ישר אדוני, צורי ולא הבלטה בו. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, מזמור שיר ליום השבת, מזמור שיר ליום השבת.
Continue with the reading of Ashrei over pages 215 to 216. Or alternatively, you can take a moment and try to think about your place of joy. What are the words that you shall say in order to find joy, in order to go to that joyful place? Sometimes we tend to say the words that actually lead us to frustration and to pain, and finding a place of joy is actually not a coincidence. It's the result of lots of hard work, internal hard work. So I invite you to meditate on that, on your words, on your place of joy. Watches over all who love the Spirit, the source of being, and is away, far away from those that are away from it. My mouth shall utter the praise of Yah, and all creatures shall bless God's holy name forever and ever. אנחנו נברך יה מעתה ועד עולם. Hallelujah. We're on page 218. הנשמה תהלליה, הללויה. כל הנשמה תהלליה, הללויה. פעל בתתרומן שכלך מלכנו תמיד. Master of all generations, who is praised in a multitude of praises, who guides the world with abundant loving kindness and all creatures with mercy, and night neither slumbers nor sleeps. God awakens the sleeping, arouses those who slumber, and gives speech to the mute. And God loosens the bonds of captives. God supports the fallen and strengthens those who are bent over. You alone do we acknowledge. We're on page 220.
אילופינו מלא שיר הקיים ולשוננו רינה וידינו פרוסות כנשרי שמיים ורגלינו קלות כילות. אילופינו מלא שיר הקיים ולשוננו רינה וידינו פרוסות כנשרי שמיים ורגלינו קלות כילות. אין אנחנו מספיקים להודות לך ולברך את שמך מלכנו, מלך מלכי המלכים, מלך מלכי המלכים. אלופינו מלא שיר הקיים ולשוננו רינה וידינו פרוסות כנשרי שמיים ורגלינו קלות כילות.
Every heart will revere you, and every inmost thought will sing to your name. Let all my bones exclaim, who is like you, O God? Bless Adonai my soul, and let my inner being praise your holy name. We are on page 222. God, in the power of your strength, great in the glory of your name, mighty forever, awesome, amazing deeds, the ruler who sits on high and exalted throne, שוכן על.
שוכן עד מרום וקדוש שמו וכתוב רננו צדיקים באדוני לישרים נבא תהילה בפי ישרים תתהלל ובדברי צדיקים תתברך ובלשון חסידים תתרומם ובקרב קדושים תתקדש. ובמחלות ריבות עמך בית ישראל, ברינה יתפאר שמך מלכנו, בכל דור ודור. ישתבח שמך לעד מלכנו, האל המלך הגדול והקדוש בשמיים ובארץ. כי לך נאה אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו, שהוא שבחה לב זמרה, עוז ממשלה נצח גדולה גבורה, תהילה ותפארת קדושה ומלכות, ברכות והודאות מעתה ועד עולם. ברוך אתה אדוני אל מלך גדול בתשבחות, אל ההודעות אדון הנפלאות, הבוחר בשירי זמרה, מלכי העולמים. We continue with Chetzi Kaddish, page 224.
We will try actually a very known melody for Chetzi Kaddish that many of you probably know from a different set of words, but it's originally was composed in Jerusalem hundreds of years ago for Chetzi Kaddish. So we'll see if you recognize the melody from somewhere else, but also we'll try to sing it together. Try it a few times, not today, but for the next couple of weeks. יתגדל ויתקדש שם רבה בעלמא דברי חירותה בימליך מלכותה בחייכם וביומכם ובחיי כל בית ישראל בעגלה ובזמן קריב באמרו אמן. יש מרב המבורך לעולם ומעל מים יתברך וישתבח יתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתהלל שמד קודש הבריחו לילה מן כל ברכתה תשבחתה בנחמתה דמירם בעלמא באמרו אמן. You may rise for Barhum. We are on page 226. ברכו את אדוני המבורך. ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם לעולם בהם. On page 228. You tell me where this page. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, יוצר אור ובורא חושך, עושה שלום ובורא תבוא. המאיר לארץ ולהרים, עליה ברחמים, לצון הדרים, עליה ברחמים, ובטובו מחדש בכל יום תמיד מעשה בראשית. מה רבו מעשיך אדוני כולם, בחוכמה עשית ולא הארץ קנייניך, קנייניך. כל חדש על ציון תהיר, ונזכה כולנו מעשיך אדוני כולם, בחוכמה עשית מלוא הארץ קנייניך, קנייניך. ברוך אתה אדוני יוצר המאורות. אמר אהבתנו אדוני אלוהינו, חמלה גדולה ויתרה חמלת עלינו. How deeply you have loved us, Adonai our God, gracing us with surpassing compassion. עינינו בתורתך, דבק ליבנו במצוותיך. Enlighten our eyes with your Torah, focus our minds in your mitzvot, unite our hearts in love and reverence. Gather us in peace from the four corners of the earth and lead us upright to our land. For you, God, were wonders, you chose us truly. You drew us near to your great name, that we might acknowledge you, declaring you one in love. Praise be you, Adonai, who chooses your people Israel in love. Baruch ata Adonai, הבוחר בעמו ישראל באהבה. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד.
We continue on page 234 with Be'ahavta. Be'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levacha uvechol nafshecha uvechol me'odecha vehayu hadevarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom alevavecha ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. We continue in English in the middle of page 236. Adonai said to Moses as follows, "Speak to the Israelite people and instruct them to make for themselves fringes on the corners of their garments throughout the ages. Let them attach a cord of blue to the fringe at each corner. That shall be your fringe. Look at it and recall all the commandments of Adonai and observe them, so you do not follow your heart and eyes in your lustful urge. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אמן."
אדוני אלוהיכם אמת, אמת ביציב בחביב, באהוב ונורא בדאיש בטוב ביפה, הדבר עשה עלינו לעולם בהד, אמת אלוהי עולם מלכנו, צור יעקב מגן אישנו לדור בדור, וכיום שמו קיים, בכיסאו נחום ומלכתו, ואמונתו לעד קיימת. God ever humbles the proud, raises the lowly, frees the imprisoned, redeems the afflicted, helps the oppressed, answering our people when we cry out. Praise to God most high, blessed is God, and deserving of blessing in great joy. Moshe Miriam and all Israel responded with song to you, all of them proclaiming, who is like you, O God? Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, on page 240. Baruch atah Adonai Goel Israel. We turn our Sidurim to page 242 for the beginning of Tfilat Amidah. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון גומל חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות באימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה.
אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה מתים אתה רף להושיע. משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מחלל חיים בחסד, מחיה מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ברופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בגבורות ומדומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה. ולמען אתה לחיות מתים, ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיה המתים.
נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאך, וקרא זה ואמר, קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוך על הארץ כבודו, אדיר אדירנו אדוני אדוננו, מאדיר שמך בכל הארץ, ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו. אחד הוא אלוהינו, הוא אבינו, הוא מלכנו, הוא מושיענו והוא ישמיענו. אני אדוני אלוהיך, ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהי לדור ודור. הללויה. לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
And peace, goodness and blessing, grace, kindness and mercy to us and to all your people Israel. Bless us, our Creator, all of us together through the light of your presence, through recognize in each other. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you. May those words are words that I feel comfortable with. May those words are intentional words. Shalom bin Bromav, page 260.
Shalom bimro yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol יושבי תבל, ואמרו, אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל, ואמרו, אמן. Ay, la 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 la, la la la, la 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 la, la 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 la, ay, la 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 la, ay, la la la, la 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 la, la 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 la, עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל, ואמרו, אמן.
Amen. We now turn our Sidurim to page 362 in order to start our Torah service. Take a moment. אין כמוך באלוקים אדוני, אין כמעט שולתך בכל דור ודור. אדוני מלך, אדוני מלך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. אדוני עוש לעמו ייתן, אדוני יברך את עמו בשלום. כי מציון תצא תורה ודבר ים ירושלים. כי מציון תצא תורה ודבר ים ירושלים. ברוך שנתן תורה לעמו, לעמו ישראל בקדושתו. ברוך שנתן תורה לעמו ישראל בקדושתו. מציון תצא תורה ודבר ים ירושלים. כי מציון תצא תורה ודבר ים ירושלים. שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד, אחד אלוהינו, גדול אדוננו, קדוש שמו. לך אדוני הגדולה והגבורה, בתפארת והנצח והוד, כל בשמיים ובארץ. לך אדוני המלאכה והמתנשא לכל בראש, לראש. Good Shabbos, everyone. And once I put the guitar back to safety, I will say, now, yes, it's good to see you, everybody. Okay. We need to perfect the sound is in the right place. I'm going to do this. Now you can hear me well? Perfect. I'm so glad. So we yesterday spoke about Parashat Ki Tisa and divided that in 6 scenes. We went pretty much through the entire Torah portion, even though we did leave several parts of the Torah portion which I told you is, in my opinion, one of the richest Torah portions in the entire Torah. There's so much there, so much. And one of the things that we discussed yesterday was the irony in the entire situation, right? Like, the Torah portion starts off by asking the Israelites to bring machatzit shekel, the half of a shekel, right? Now, everybody, all those that are above the age of 20 years old, are supposed to participate. In this case, and Torah does that in other cases, it's not each one according to his possibility or his ability. In this case, everybody is supposed to bring half shekel. It has to do with ownership, right? We want to be equal partners in this thing that we will own, that will be the center of our religious life, spiritual life, communal life. So that's, and then we will make different offerings. But the initial one has a big portion of equality. Now, this doesn't mean that the Israelites didn't have more funds or more means, and we will see that they actually did have more means and they used them maybe in the wrong place. So while we are speaking about creating the ark, the Israelites are building the golden calf, right? Now, the conversation between God and Moses, this first conversation in this Torah portion, has two stages. One in which they speak about the ark, the physical building of the ark, who and how. And the second component is Shabbat. And the question is, why is Shabbat such a main motif in this Torah portion? Why in the middle of this situation, the Torah, or God, brings Shabbat? And I'm happy to hear your comments. Why do you think in the midst of the golden calf, of building the ark, we have a conversation about Shabbat, when it's a topic that the Torah have already discussed more than once? You can unmute yourself. Why can't try to read your thoughts? Oh, Rabbi Miriam.
Maybe because when you get caught up in the heat of the moment, it's hard to think logically. So to take a step back, to take a deep breath, to take a rest, maybe they will find a way to rethink their deeds.
Okay, so what Rabbi Miriam is saying, there's a reflective component, if I understand you correctly, that is added to this situation. So there's a layer of reflection in the middle of all this heated situation. But Shabbat comes just before this starts. It's like just, and then they bring it back. So Besham, Bnei Israel, etc., that we read in this Torah portion and we sing every Shabbat, comes toward the end. So Shabbat appears twice in this Torah portion. Once at the beginning, just before the drama starts, and then once again. So for the second time, I think it completely goes with that direction. Thank you. Elaine?
I think for me anyway, it has to do with the difference between kadosh, that which is holy, and the golden calf, which is totally the opposite. So you have two diametrically opposed elements here. And so the concept of Shabbat, which is so, the concept of holiness versus what they're doing, which is to pray to something that is unholy. That's
beautiful, beautiful. As a contrast. I'll get back to that in a moment. Any other ideas? I see you, Nitza.
I think it's a day of rest. So maybe on the day of rest, they won't build anything. They won't have, they're not supposed to build anything. No golden calf or anything, nothing.
So during the other 6 days, yes.
Yeah.
But you know what? I am joking a little bit, but I think you are touching something very important, and I will get back to that also in one moment. Any other that want to share?
Yes, I think that,
Oh, Marv.
yeah, I think that Judaism and monotheism has a God that is unreal, non-tangible. It's ethereal. It's something you feel inside of you and above you. The golden calf is a nothing. It's like any piece of furniture, etc. And the fact is that they built one waiting for Moses to come down is the truth, that they said all the women should take their jewelry, and they fashioned it into the calf. What kind of thing would that be for you to pray to, for, or with, rather than something that was, as I said, inside of you or outside of you, or a feeling of laws and in the religion.
Thank you very much. Let me go back, and maybe we touched some of what Marv said too, but I want to get back to first to Nitza, and say that this Torah portion starts. This section of the Torah portion is very interesting. Let me read for you 2 verses in Hebrew and then in English. ויאמר אדוני אל משה לאמור, ואתה דבר אל בני ישראל, לומר, אך את שבתותי תשמרו, כי עוד, etc., etc. And the Lord said to Moses, speak to the Israelite people and say, nevertheless, you must keep my Shabbat, etc., etc. Now the word ach, nevertheless, is crucial. Why? And here is where I want to follow up in what you just said. Have you heard about the 39 melachot of Shabbat? Lamed Tet melachot? There are 39 prohibitions in terms of what is defined as work in Shabbat. Where are those prohibitions taken from? From the work of building the tabernacle and the ark. So it comes directly from there. So they are talking about how to build the tabernacle and say, now that you got a job, you are not just walking. You're not just living. You need to do many, many, many things. You have a job. You need to be able, nevertheless, right? Like that, you need to be able to keep Shabbat anyway. You need to be able, yes, you're working, but in Shabbat you don't. You don't engage in things that have to do with the community. You don't engage in building a window for. And now we always have excuses, right? You can say, well, that's the ark. It's the holy of the holies. It's the holy of the holies. And so in that context, in the context of the building the most holy artifact in Jewish tradition, God says, no, you cut. In Shabbat, you just don't do it. You stop. And now that's a message, and then I want to go to Elaine. That's a message not just for the Israelites that are walking in the desert and will build an ark. It is a message for those that are living their lives and they feel that they need to keep working all the time, that they feel that they are obligated by the circumstances all the time. And then they find themselves idolatering, working a golden calf. Then they get rid of holiness, and we take as the center of our life something that doesn't really have any value. So now that one word that says no excuses, like stop justifying yourself. That's not how it's supposed to work. I think it's a pillar in the Torah portion. It's not just a pillar for those that built the golden calf then. It's a very strong message, a one-word message for those that are living their lives right now and feel that we need to, there's no way out of. It's an invitation for us to say, we want to do the work that we need to do. We want to deeply engage in what we need to engage, but we also want to be able to create a space for things that are holy and don't necessarily get done during the other 6 days of the week. So with this idea of keeping Shabbat in our heart and in our minds, we will get started with the reading of Parashat Ki Tisa. The video.
Okay. Yam Tu, Malka Bat George, Leah Rashon, Milat Serlin, and the reader is Daphna Guterman.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Baruch et Adonai HaMevorah.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch Ata Adonai noten haTorah.
אמן. וידבר אדוני אל משה לאמור, כי תישא את ראש בני ישראל לפקודיהם, ונתנו איש כופר נפשו לאדוני בפקוד אותם, ולא יהיה בהם נגף בפקוד אותם, כי זה יתנו כל העובר על הפקודים מחצית השקל בשקל הקודש 20 גרה השקל מחצית השקל תרומה לאדוני.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת וחיי עולם נוטה בתוכנו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
Amen.
Yam Du, Hannah Bat Avram Vasara, Beth and Frank, Amelia, and Isabel Matijevich, in honor of Amelia's birthday. And the reader is yours truly. Go ahead.
She's here.
Where is she? Here she is. Ready? You got it? Baruch atah Adonai hamvarah.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
Vayed. Baruch atah Adonai hamvarah le'olam vayed.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bara banu mikol ha'amim v'natananu l'Torah. Baruch atah Adonai noten Torah.
Amen. Kol over al hapikudim mi ben eshrim shana v'mala yitain trumat Adonai Hashir lo yarbe v'halal lo yamit mimachatzit hakeshekel Lotet et trumat Adonai lechaper al nafshotechem lokach et kechem et kesef hakipurim me et bnei Yisrael v'notata oto al avodat Achel Moed v'haya livnei Yisrael lizikaron livnei Adonai lechaper al nafshotechem.
Blessing after the reading.
At the end.
Working on it. Sorry.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat amet v'hayalam nata ba'atonu Baruch atah Adonai natim haTorah.
Amen.
כן, יישר כוח. יישר כוח. מזל טוב for the birthday.
Yeah. Happy birthday, Amelia. Yam Tov, Yam Tov. Aliyah Hashlishi, Ephraim Ben Shlomo, Gary Gruber, and reading is Mark Filowitz.
Baruch hu et Adonai HaBarach.
Baruch Adonai mevarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaBarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. V'yidaber Adonai el Moshe lemor v'yosito ki yor nichoshet v'chano nichoshet l'rachta v'notato oto ben ochem oed uvnei chamizabeach v'notato shamar mayim V'rachatzu acharon uvanav mimenu et yedechem v'et raglechem.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nota b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Yasher Koach. Rabbi, are you going to do the introduction for the next reader?
I am. Thank you. Ruthie, can you unmute? Perfect.
Yes.
So you have a Hebrew name, right?
Yes.
Not that Ruth is not a Hebrew name.
It's Adira Samara.
Adira Samara. What's the meaning of the word Adir? Adira,
Strong and powerful.
apparently is right and true. So we will call you for the first time to an Aliyah la Torah. And we will talk about that a bit more later, but we will say that you had a Beit Din
November.
like in November,
Yeah.
like 3 months ago. and after that the mikveh got closed.
Right.
And then you were sick. And then and until we made it back, like just a few weeks ago, you were able to go back to the mikveh and to conclude the process. And we are so thrilled to welcome you, as we always welcome you in our community, but now with the change and the process that you decided was true and right for you, and the community is very happy to embrace and celebrate with you. תעמוד לעליית המפטיר Adira Samara, the daughter of Abraham and Sarah, and you can also say the name of your parents.
Trudy and Richard.
Trudy and Richard. Trudy Honey is your mom?
Yes.
That's on Facebook here and there. I didn't know.
That's my mom.
Oh, okay. So the daughter of Trudy. That's funny.
I'm nervous.
You're rightfully nervous. No, here we are. Don't worry. You practice that. You even sent me a recording of you doing an aliyah, so you're fine with that. I've been doing this for thousands of years. So believe me, we'll be fine.
Okay. When do I do it? Now?
Take a deep breath and just go for it.
Barahud Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai Mevorach Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Leolam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Bahar Banu Mikol Ha'amim Ve'natan Lanu Et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. Vaydaber Adonai. You're okay. You did great. You did excellent. I'm sorry, I'm not supposed to say anything, but I want you to know you did an excellent job. Yasher koach. Vaydaber Adonai el Moshe ve'el Aharon lemor. Zot chukat haTorah asher tziva Adonai lemor. Daber el bnei Yisrael v'yichu elecha fara aduma temima asher in ba asher lo ala aleha ol unetatem ota el azar hakohen vehotzi ota el michutz lamachane veshachat ota lefanav velakach el azar hakohen midama be'etzba'o vehi za'zah el nochat pnei ohel moed midama sheva pe'amim וסרף את הפרה לעיניו, את אורה ואת בשרה, ואת דמה על פרשה ישרוף. ולקח הכהן עץ ארז ואזוב ושני תולעת והשליך אל תוך שרפת הפרה וחיפש בגדיו הכהן ורחץ בשרו במים, ואחר יבוא אל המחנה, וטמא הכהן עד הערב. והשורף אותה יכבס בגדיו במים, ורחץ בשרו במים, וטמא עד הערב. ואסף איש טהור עץ אפר הפרה, והניח מחוץ למחנה במקום טהור. והייתה לעדת בני ישראל למשמרת למי נידה התת היב, וכיבס האוסף את אפר הפרה את בגדיו, וטמא עד הערב. והייתה לבני ישראל ולגר הגר בתוכם לחוקת עולם.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'hayei olam nata betohenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
אמן. אנחנו עושים מי שברך אבותינו ואמותינו, הוא יברך את אדירה סמרה, שמצטרפת לעם ישראל, כפי שאנחנו אומרים, אחותינו עד לאלפי רבבה. May the one who bless our ancestors will bless Adira, Samara, Ruthie, who joins the people of Israel, the house of Israel. As we acknowledge you, we recognize you as our sister. May you be blessed with an enduring embrace. May you find only loving open arms in any synagogue or community you walk through. May you find reflections of yourself, your stories of triumph and struggle, and of people around you in Jewish text and history. May your curiosity for Jewish learning be driven by all that you find when you look. May you find love, wonder, and hope in prayer. And may you be guided by the paths of righteousness that have been paved before you. May you wrestle with all the different layers and sides of Jewish teachings and wisdom that we have in our tradition that belongs to you today. And may you find your own voice within our tradition. May you recognize your role today as a voice, as a face, as a neshama, as a soul in the house of Israel, as a part of the Jewish people. As we say, Yerechecha Adonai be'ishmerech, Yadel Adonai panav elaich bichunech, Yisa Adonai panav elaich be'asim lach shalom. May God bless you and protect you. May God's light shine upon you, and may God be gracious to you. May God's presence be within you always, and may you find wholeness. May you find peace. As we say, שהחיינו וקימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, שהחיינו וקימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. ברוך ברוך אתה, אדוני אלוהינו, מלך העולם, שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. סימן טוב, איי 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 מעשה טוב, איי 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 ילנו ילנו ולכל עם ישראל. דוד מלך ישראל, דוד מלך מלך ישראל, דוד מלך מלך ישראל, חי חי וקיים, איי 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 סימן טוב, איי 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 מעשה טוב, איי איי ילנו ולכל ישראל, איי 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 מעשה טוב, איי 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 סימן טוב, איי איי ילנו ולכל עם ישראל. מזל טוב רותי, ברוכה הבאה. Welcome. We'll continue our service on page 586. As we pray to find focus, we pray for our hearts to find their way back. Be'ashebota, return us to you, to your heart, to our heart. And help us recognize your oneness. Help us find focus. Help us find purpose and invest our resources, emotional and spiritual resources, in the right place, in the things that are holy for us. Let us not procrastinate what's important. Ashevota, el levavecha, ki Adonai hu Elohim, Ashevota, el levavecha, ki Adonai hu Elohim, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו is one. We turn our Sidurim now to page 598 as we take a moment to acknowledge mourners among our community. We think of those during the first 7 days of mourning, and so those during the first 30 days of mourning, and so those during the first year of mourning. And we think also of those that have a yahrzeit this week. If you want to share the names of those who you are remembering in the comments section on Facebook, YouTube, and Zoom, we'll read them. Now you can support our fellows with your voices and your hearts on page 598. יתגדל ויתקדש שם הרבה. בעלמה דברה חילותה, בימליך מלכותה. בחייכון ובימיכון, ובחיי דכל בית ישראל. בעגלה ובזמן קריב, באמרו אמן. יהא שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולמי-עלמיה. יתברך, בשתבח, בהתפאר, בהתרומם, בהתנשא, בהתהדר, בהתעלה, בהתעלל, שמי קודשה בריחו. לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, תמירם בעלמה, באמרו אמן. יהא שלמה רבה מן שמיה, בחיים טובים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, באמרו אמן. עושה שלום באמרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, באמרו אמן. May the memories of your beloved ones be always a blessing. יהיה זכרם ברוך. So, give me 1 second. Zach told me that I'm not allowed to take them off anymore. We actually made a deal that half of the Bar Torah I have to wear them, the second half I don't have to. But so, quick thing. Some people ask me about what's going on in Israel. I think many of you saw the news of reform conversions being accepted finally in Israel. So, and there was some confusion. Some people ask me, weren't we accepted already? So let me make a quick distinction. Many years ago, the Supreme Court in Israel decided that different communities in the diaspora had the right to define who is a Jew. And so for many years, well, I think 20. Don't get me with the numbers. I'm usually not so good at remembering numbers, but around 20 years, maybe a bit more. The conversions that Reform and conservative rabbis perform in the diaspora are accepted in the state of Israel for the purpose of becoming an Israel citizen. That's one thing. The conversions in the state of Israel that were performed by Reform rabbis and conservative rabbis in the state of Israel weren't accepted for citizenship. That's what changed. So that's what has changed. Now, a little bit about the why this made so much noise. First, it made lots of noise because it is a symbol. It is a symbol. Something has changed. The Ministry of Absorption that said that now Reform rabbis will send whoever to become a citizen in Israel is the same Ministry of Absorption that has been signing on our conversions here in the United States for more than 20 years. Nothing has changed from that perspective. It's the same. The same conversion that we perform here was already accepted. Same thing with weddings. If Nico Sokolovsky performs a wedding here in California, that wedding is recognized, legally recognized by the state of Israel. Same rabbi, now in Haifa, that wedding is not recognized by the state of Israel. So what happened is that in matters of conversion, finally we were able to achieve equality because this topic has been in the Knesset, in the Israel parliament for many years, and the Knesset wasn't able to ever get a bottom line in this topic because the ultra-Orthodox never achieved the majority in order to impose their opinion, and there was never a big enough number to go in the other direction. And this finally came to be a decision that the Supreme Court made, and now the conversions will be recognized. Now, what this means? Well, it means that many people that are already legal citizens in Israel, people that are legal citizens in Israel, but don't practice Judaism according to the way of the orthodoxy, and practice Judaism in a liberal way, will be able to be recognized as Jewish citizens of the state of Israel. Will they be recognized by the chief rabbinate? No. Will Orthodox rabbis officiate in their weddings? No, that won't change. And to some extent, no, I think that each group in Jewish tradition has the right to define for itself how to work these things out. But it is a big change. It is a big symbol. And I will say that there's another interesting symbol, and it's that my very good friend and teacher, and I think is a very good friend, of course, of any community, Reform community in the United States, Rabbi Gilad Karif, is number 4 in the Labor Party. And whether you support the Labor or not, it looks like that it's going to be the first time in which we have a Reform rabbi who is a lawyer, who is a very well-educated Jew, in the parliament, in the Knesset of Israel. So this is also an important symbol and an important voice that we will bring to Israel. So interesting and good news for many, many people that were waiting for many, many years to be acknowledged and to be recognized. If you have any other question, you can always text me, write me, call me. And Elena, I see you need to say something. Okay, go ahead. One.
Okay. It still, of course, doesn't solve the problem of the control of the Rabbanut regarding marriages and funerals being buried in Israel. No. So I'm not sure that ever can be resolved. So it has to be done outside of the framework of the government, with burial in cemeteries where the Rabbanut doesn't have control, and marriages will be done by Reform and conservative rabbis, which are being done now, or without rabbinical marriages, and they're still recognized. Not recognized by the Rabbanut.
So marriage but again, we're mixing two different things.
I realize that, but it's still an issue.
Yeah, sure. Like, no, we didn't achieve like a religious freedom in Israel 100%.
Right.
That's a working process. That's a part of the conversation. Of course, some of us are very impatient. On the other hand, we are a new state, and there are things that are being worked out. There are lots of fear. So that's a very long conversation. I just want to explain what happened in the Supreme Court in the context of conversion, and what are the two cases. Conversion in the United States always, for many years, has counted for Israeli citizenship. Now, conversion in the state of Israel by the liberal movements also counts for citizenship. That's the thing. And if you want to have a longer conversation about at some point about marriage and funerals and burials in the state of Israel, I'm happy to engage in that conversation too. Okay, we will now turn our Siurim to page, Gabriel, 632.
632. Yeah, you did it.
Oh. I was getting nervous, I didn't know.
I wrote it down.
I'll conclude our service with the words of Ein Adir, as the name Adira.
Yeah. כישראל, מפי אל ומפי אל, יבורך כל ישראל, מפי אל ומפי אל, יבורך כל ישראל. אין הדור כאדוני ואין ותיק כבן עמרם, אין זקן כתורה ואין חכמך כישראל, מפי אל ומפי אל, יברך כל ישראל, מפי אל ומפי אל, יברך כל ישראל.
כבן אברהם, אין קדושה כתורה, תוכי ישראל, מפי אל, יבורך כל ישראל, מפי אל, יבורך כל ישראל. יאללה 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 Shalom, Shabbat Shalom everyone. Good Shabbos, good Shabbos.